You promise yourself just one glass, and this time it will be different. But after a few hours, you find yourself in the same familiar scenario that you wanted to leave behind. Why does even a safe serving often pull you back? And can you really control this process? What determines whether you can say stop when your hand is already reaching for the first sip? Today, we'll explore the 4 traps of moderate drinking that almost invisibly pull you back to old ways. Even a single innocent serving reactivates the same neural pathways that took years to form. Sometimes it feels like a switch, and the old script comes alive instantly. There are 4 main traps of moderate drinking. The tolerance trap, you need more to feel the same effect. The justification trap, you find reasons to allow yourself more. The trigger trap, familiar situations trigger automatic reactions. And the one more and that's enough trap, the cycle of last times repeats again and again. When you first see these traps in your own experience, it's clear. This isn't about willpower, but about habitual brain and behavioral patterns. Why does the brain cling so tightly to familiar routes? Even in the supermarket, the same shelves and smells activate the old program, and your hand reaches automatically for the chosen drink. Sometimes it seems like you're making a conscious decision, but really it's automatic behavior built over years. One pause, and you might change the course. After a slip, the question often arises, why didn't I hold back again? But this is not a failure of willpower. The brain reacts to ritual, emotions, and context, and old patterns can activate on the very first try. Craving is a wave, not a command. It rises and falls, even if it feels unstoppable. After a slip, it helps to briefly write down what triggered it. Was it a trigger, a justification, or a usual situation? This is the first step toward change. In the evening, mark which of the 4 traps was strongest today. Tolerance, justification, trigger, or one more and that's enough. Every day can have its own answer. When you start noticing repeated patterns, space opens for different choices. Sometimes insight comes an hour after the event. If the wave of craving is strong, write a short message to someone you trust. Contact with a real person breaks the repetition cycle. Marking even a small pause is a new experience for the brain. Open Soberise and record not just the day, but the moment you managed to stop. Even if it seems minor, each such step gradually weakens the old pattern. Different approaches work in different situations. Some avoid parties, others learn to hold boundaries. Next, we'll compare how the 4 traps work with moderation, full abstinence, and flexible control. Maybe your way is a walk instead of an evening glass, or a new ritual after work. Which approach helped you avoid old patterns? Share your experience in the comments. After a tough day, even the smallest plan is a step toward resilience. Write down one new action for tomorrow. For example, change your route or prepare a response to a typical justification. Ritual is stronger than promises. Change a small habit and the chain will break. Have you noticed how easy it is to cross your limits among friends? Here, the traps of triggers and justifications often combine. Compare your old triggers with new reactions. Records help you see. Over time, the repetition cycle weakens. If you return to old amounts, it's not about weakness. tolerance returns quickly, and the brain adjusts to the familiar level of reward. Even after long sobriety, cravings can appear unexpectedly, especially in familiar trigger situations. This is not a relapse, but the work of the same neural pathways. A like tells the algorithm to show this to the people searching for exactly these words today. How to understand if moderation doesn't work for you. If the cycle repeats and control constantly slips away, maybe it's time to honestly consider full abstinence or extra support. Try daily check-ins on Soberise. Even a few words about your mood or craving level help you see your state from a new angle. After a slip, you don't need to analyze failure for hours. Just take a small step, write a support plan, or reach out to someone you trust. Justifications will keep coming again and again. Write down typical phrases like, "once a month isn't bad," and prepare a simple response for each. This creates a new pattern of reaction. Track your alcohol-free days in Soberise. Visible progress supports motivation even when it feels like nothing is changing. Make a short SOS plan for the next 2 hours. Write down what step you'll take if the urge to return to old patterns appears. Even one new action today is your choice, not old automatic behavior. Don't compare yourself to a perfect scenario. One step is enough. If this topic hits home, subscribe so you don't miss new videos. Soberise is your daily companion, a sober day tracker, check-ins, and an SOS button the moment a craving hits. Free on Soberise.net, Google Play, and the App Store.